Hello, everyone. Welcome to Who We Ood, an unofficial Doctor Who watch along podcast. My name is Cameron, and I'm here with my co host, Ben. We're at Tom Baker, Ben. How does that feel?
We're here. We're finally doing it after all these months. It's great.
But especially for you, it's like you started this journey last year. It's been like a year and some change, right?
I think I watched like Unearthly Child like last summer.
Yeah. So, like a year and some change.
Yeah.
In some ways, this is it, Ben.
hmm
Fourth Doctor, that's like the definitive Doctor
Yeah. This is classic Doctor Who.
for majority of people.
Yeah. Just been watching the prequel.
Yeah, in some ways. Especially for like Americans, this is just Doctor Who. When Americans think of just classic Doctor Who, this is it because they played this on PBS. So like a lot of people have fond memories of the Fourth Doctor, of like that were around that time.
Yeah. When did it come to the state?
I think it's been at this in the states, but I think around this time is when PBS really did a push for it. I don't know what it was before this though.
Ooh, I'm looking on Wikipedia. Some syndication starting in 1972 of John Pertwee episodes, but in 1978, yeah, it was Tom's first 4 seasons were sold to PBS.
Yeah, so that's when it's like that's when people have if you ask like people that are like in their 50s and tell them about classic Doctor Who, they'll think of Tom Baker and Sarah Jane
Yeah.
and Layla. But yeah, that starts us off with we're doing today's episode is gonna be Robot, Tom
Yes.
Baker's first serial. Written by Terrence Dick. This is his kind of his send off for being heavily involved in the show. He is not script editor anymore. This serial, Robert Holmes takes up that title as a script editor, of course, but he was the script editor for all of Pertwee and then for the end of Troughton. He said like something along the lines to Barry Letts that well for my last one I have to be the one that writes it. That's tradition because the Derek Sherman, who he took responsibility as a script editor from, after that he wrote Invasion. So he was like, there's precedence for this, so I have to write the next one.
Mm,
So he goes on to write this. This is his first time writing for the show since, well, credited writing for the show since the War Games. So a pretty big chunk, even though that he was involved in, of course, every story in between there. And of course, this is the last story produced by Barry Letts, but he will go on to direct a couple episodes after this, and then he will come back to the show as like a supervising advisor for season 18.
So this is very much like a transitionary period, changing of the guard of the crew and the cast.
Yes, and like it's kind of in some ways this episode is kind of a mix of the new and the old.
Yeah.
And then in the same way in this episode, Philip Hinchcliffe, the next producer for the show, he is there as like a supervising position under Barry Letts to watch him see how he produces this episode, just to give him like how the show works.
hmm
So yeah, it kind of you even feel that in some ways with this having this be a unit story with all the unit family. This very much is like a John Pertwee serial
hmm
with just a new person, of course. So Ben, what did you think of Robot?
It was good. I liked it. I think if this was just a John Pertwee story, it would be like slightly above mid Pertwee story. But having Tom and all his new energy, his like joy and whimsy with everything he does really brings a lot to it. It has a lot of elements in common with Invasion of the Dinosaurs, I thought, like plot-wise, and I thought Sarah was used really well in that episode, and I think she's used here really well again, where she's very much, the leading lady, independent and but very helpful. And overall, I quite liked it. Would definitely I'm still not, as with every doctor that has regenerated so far. I'm still in a little bit of the phase of like, who the fuck is this guy? That's not my doctor. But it's a much much smoother transition, I would say, than the last two. I'm by the end of Robot, I think I'm pretty close to being fully on board.
Which we do have reports saying that like in the time this there was There were people that was like, "Oh, this doctor's too silly," or like
I could see that, yeah.
in outrage, being like, "This isn't Doctor Who," which is funny to think about, like how people would think that way before the internet, because we think so much about like those negative opinions comes through is like amplified with the internet, but no, people were still critical of the show back then, even. But yeah, yeah, like I've of course seen this serial before. I believe this was one. Maybe some people can comment if you remember. I believe this was free on YouTube for a bit. Like, the full thing was just on YouTube. So, I watched it there. I must have been, like I was young. I would have been, like, 10?
Maybe for an anniversary or something?
No, 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 this was, like it wasn't, like, a official thing. This was just, like,
Ah, gotcha.
some guy posted it and the copyright claims didn't get to it, and, I love this serial. I think there's a like you said, there's a lot of it that's kind of just like, "Oh, this is a average mid Pertwee serial," but you have Tom Baker there, and Tom
Yes.
Baker, in particular, the part 1, absolutely kills it. He is out of the gate just such a charismatic doctor, and he has also that quality about him that I love about Tom's doctor. And it's just kind of Tom as a person. There's that element of just, is this man from another world?
Yeah.
Just like the way that he can say a sentence that only Tom Baker can say that sentence that way. And it just makes me smile just the way he says it. And just his voice, just his gravitas, and it's just perfect. And there's so many episodes that just the line delivery of the line just makes me chuckle. And it's such a big contrast to Pertwee's doctor, because Pertwee is that serious, I'm in charge,
Yeah.
and Tom is much more like making up on the spot, like and a little bit more erratic.
Oh, yeah. John, I would say, is very much more of a human doctor, and Tom feels much more like an alien.
Yeah.
Like I said, he has like the childishness to him. He's always got a big shit-eating grin on his face. He is curious and he's got a lot of whimsy.
Yeah.
Um, lit Still a little bit of arrogance, I would say, from John, but he's more, I guess, open to cooperating with those around him. He's a little less commanding,
Yeah.
more like, "You're brilliant, Benton. Wonderful." And yeah, he has a lot of like instantly iconic, quotable lines that are just like perfectly delivered.
And written by Terrence Dicks. So you have to give a
Mhm.
shout out to Terrence Dicks. Just like
Oh, definitely.
the lines in particular just being like, of course, at the end of just like, what's the point of being grown up if you can't be childish sometimes, is such a great doctor line. There is I am the doctor, the definitive article, you might say. It's
Yeah,
just like lines like
I
that
wrote down a lot of quotes this episode.
that are just like perfect doctor lines and just iconic lines for the doctor. And I think, like, something else I have to give a shout out to Tom's doctor, not just Tom's I shouldn't say Tom's doctor, but just Tom Baker and period, and we'll definitely have to talk about this more, is just, like, the fact of how good his chemistry is with Elizabeth Sladen right from the first episode is incredible. They have already, like, a chemistry that you would imagine they would have been casted, like, together.
Mhm.
It's just, like, works right from the bat from that moment where he's about to leave and Sarah's begging him to not go. Just that moment is just like they have just instant chemistry that you just wanna watch them on
Oh,
screen.
yeah. All the awkwardness that her and John had is just gone.
And then you have, like, of course, the moment at the end where he offers her the jelly baby, and then he says the childish line. It's just like that dynamic is just fucking perfect. And it's just like, maybe it's just 'cause I know what the
You know the
dynamic
future,
is,
yeah.
but, like, I just think it's instant just God, they got it. Like, it's instant fire. So, Ben, to just go off of, like, the some of the behind the scenes things about Tom's doctor.
Mhm.
So, of course, Tom Baker gets cast as the doctor, a relative unknown actor. He basically begs for the part for somebody that was high up in the BBC, and they gave his he basically was like pleading saying like I need an acting gig, and they mentioned Tom to Barry Letts, who was in the process of casting Doctor Who. And Barry Letts saw him in, I think it's a film or it was a play, and said, "Oh nope, that's my doctor." And then auditioned him and said, "Nope, this is perfect."
You were thinking of The Golden Voyage of Sinbad as a film where he played the evil sorcerer Korra. Kura.
Yeah, and like it was history from there.
Yes.
At the time of when he got the doctor role, he was on a construction site pretty famously. And then after he was cast, he was still on the construction site, still working. And then he said that he has a good story about like telling them and going out to bears with them and stuff. It's a very cool story. And of course, another one of the big like myths of Doctor Who legend is of course that scarf. The Fourth Doctor, of course, has the iconic long scarf that is one of the most iconic symbols of the show, up there with the TARDIS.
I didn't realize until watching this episode how long that scarf is. Like, I thought it was just kind of like, around his neck, down maybe his waist, but it's like dragging on the ground behind him. Almost to the point where it seems like it would be inconvenient, but like he uses it many times in this episode to his advantage
Yeah.
as like a tool.
And then, like funny thing about that is it gets longer, Ben. So just look forward to that.
Uh-huh.
But the rumor, not the rumor, but like the myth is that they gave all the knitting. What's knitting material, Ben?
Yarn?
Yarn. They gave all the yarn to the costume designer and told them to make a scarf. And they just used up all the yarn that they gave her. And that's how you got the long scarf. Of course, I think that's a little bit. I think fans have realized throughout the years there's a little bit of a tall tale, and that's complete bullshit. There is like proof knowing that like no, that was on purpose. But it is a funny story to imagine that they just gave her this yarn and then just came back with this long scarf and said, I guess we gotta go with it.
Yeah. Oh, this like changing scene is so great.
Yeah.
I wrote down the quote. He says, "Is something wrong?" And the brigadier says, "You've changed." And the doctor says, "Oh no, not again." Like looks in the mirror, like, and then he's like, goes through all these silly little outfits before he arrives at his final look.
And I love like the little ooh ooh when he finally gets to the costume. That is great.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's the casting of Tom is kind of the last thing that Barry Letts and Terrence Dicks does for the show. And in some ways, that decision is probably their most impactful decision in the show's history.
Their biggest contribution.
Like, without casting Tom Baker, who the hell knows that the show would have lasted till now? It's kind of a reality of if they don't cast Tom Baker, then the show could just end in the 70s at some point. But because they don't, because they do, it goes on for another, at this point, another like 15 years almost.
Yeah. Struck gold.
But yeah, like to just talk about the story itself, it is your traditional. There is an evil scientist with this big robot that a group of fascists are in control of and want to take
Oh
over the
yeah.
world. We know this story. We've seen it before in the Third Doctor era. Like you said, Invasion of the Dinosaurs. You could also say the fascism stuff, a little bit of like Inferno or like
Yeah. There's some interesting elements here, though. There are like pieces that I think are pretty clearly derived from both Frankenstein, that the robot is like a sympathetic character. It isn't just like a killing machine. It is almost human in a way,
yeah.
as they talk about later, where it's all, he's being warped and twisted till his its capacity for good is gone. Very, very kind of like Frankenstein's monstery.
Yeah, and then of course, and later in the story, it becomes a little bit more King Kong with a gigantic
Hmm.
robot and the small Elizabeth Sladen.
Idolizing just this one girl who the only one that can love him, which I thought it was kind of funny. I was aware that the target novelization was Doctor Who and the giant robot. So I was like, I thought right from the get-go it was gonna be like, 100-foot tall robot. And when it was revealed, oh, it's like 7 feet, I was like, that's not really a giant robot. And then holy shit, it is a giant robot.
with some beautiful CSO. Barry, of course, has to leave the show with some big CSO work, his favorite thing.
It didn't look terrible. Some of the shots were actually pretty good, I thought. Like
Yeah,
when Tom and Harry are coming in Bessie and they see the robot like in the distance behind the buildings. That actually looked kind of good.
yeah.
Guess that's the director's credit.
Oh, I never said. I'll say it right now. Directed by Christopher Barry. I never said the director. Christopher Barry, of course. Before this, he did the Daemons and the Mutants, and goes on to do the Brand of Morbius and Creature from the Pit. Also directs Downtime in the Wilderness Years, Ben. I know you're excited for Downtime.
Ooh, I am so excited for Downtime.
But I feel like a lot of his direction is a little bit hindered. A production fact about this is that it was the first Doctor Who story to be shot mostly on videotape outside, and you really feel that. It doesn't look like HD outside at all, like it does sometimes in classic Doctor Who.
No, I thought the first part of this actually looked like it looked HD. It looked pretty nice and crisp, but the other three were kind of muddled.
Interesting. I don't know why you would think that. Maybe,
Maybe I totally imagined it. I haven't watched Doctor Who in a while.
yeah, maybe it is just that. Because of course you're not watching like the Blu-ray. Blu-ray
I
would
mean,
help out a little
just
bit.
iPlayer.
Yeah. Okay. So,
Should we talk about Harry,
Harry.
the new companion?
Yeah. Do you know about the history of Harry Sullivan, Ben?
No.
So Harry's there because at a time they were going to cast an older doctor. Thought they were going to go back to like the Huttnell, like age wise. So if you're going to cast an older doctor, you have to have their like Ian counterpart to do more of the actiony stuff.
Yeah.
So that's why Harry is there, because originally he was going to be the Ian character
Okay.
or Stephen character, just being the more of the action
The
man.
problem is they didn't do that. So
Yeah.
Harry really has nothing to do. He's just
Yes.
kind of like a guy. Like I couldn't tell you anything about him, any character traits, except maybe he's like maybe a little full of himself or just a little bit arrogant or something because he thinks he's James Bond, but he's not, I guess. But mostly he's just kind of a guy and he's there for bits and pieces here and there. I don't know.
But that's what I kind of like about Harry. Is that he's just a guy. He's just a guy, Ben. It's just it's just like that thing about Doctor Who. Just sometimes there's just a guy there, and he just has to like give us like, his reactions to what's going on, and I kind of enjoy that. I think that Ian Motter does a really good job as Harry, though. I think he has a likability to him,
What would a bad job as Harry look like though? Like,
being annoying.
I guess he's not annoying. He's just not really anything.
I'm curious to see what you think of him when he leaves at the end, because
Yeah. He's only here for a very short time, I know.
yeah, because I enjoy Harry. He
We'll
isn't
see.
he isn't nothing to me. But I think in this story, it doesn't help that like we have him in the first part. He is the doctor character that have to treat the doctor, and then by the after that part, he kind of is just there in the background for a lot of it, and it's like, oh, you're gonna go like undercover. Even that stuff's not really like expanded on that much.
Yeah.
And then he's just there with the doctor at the end to save the day. And that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't really do anything that Sarah couldn't have just done. Sarah is already kind of providing that regular like the human factor.
Yeah.
Uh who can be a contrast with this more inhuman doctor.
Yeah. It's the like again, Ben, there's a reason why he only has a short time with the doctor.
Yeah.
But like I think there is a charm to Harry that I do appreciate.
Okay.
And I
I
hope
guess
that
we'll
you will
see.
grow. I hope that Harry grows on you. But like I think I liked him in like the first part. I love all that stuff with him and Tom just fucking with him. That stuff is great.
I didn't even realize that that was Harry until like the third episode, where it's like, oh wait, that's our new companion, the random doctor guy. Okay,
They set it up in Planet of the Spiders. You know, here they go. Like they say something along the lines of like get Doctor Sullivan in there.
sure.
But of course, we've seen him before in Carnival of Monsters, and there was something else that he was in that I'm blanking on. What else was Ian Matter in?
To the wiki.
Oh, nope, he's just Carnival of Monsters, but he was gonna play Sergeant. No, sorry, Captain Mike Yates.
Ah, gotcha. I mean, he was good in Carnival of Monsters, I guess.
Yeah, but like very small role.
Yeah.
Interesting fact is that he wrote a couple of the Target books. He wrote Ark in Space, on Time Experiment, like a big list of them. I'm just finding this out now.
Huh.
That's pretty cool. But like the sad thing about him is that he does die pretty early on at 42.
Huh.
Sadly,
That's too bad.
we never got to see
No dramatic return.
we never got to see the return of Harry or just like him doing like big fitness stuff. But of course, you mentioned beforehand, Sarah. This is a very Sarah centric episode, and she does Elizabeth Sladen just knocks out of the park this episode.
Oh yeah. All her interactions with the robot.
Yeah.
K1.
And after like a couple of serials where we were both kind of like, Sarah, this isn't the best Sarah Jane out there.
Yeah.
They definitely there's some improvement there. You had something good in Invasion of the Dinosaurs,
But yeah, they give her so much more to do, and she really shines.
and is like that journalist character. And then it's great.
Not just a woman who's there with him.
Yes, not just Joe Grant, but named Sarah Jane.
Yeah. Really, really good. Looking forward to more of her.
What did you think of the K1 robot? Of course, performed by Michael Kilgariff. I'm probably butchering that last name. He plays also the Cyber Controller in Tomb of the Cybermen and goes on to play Cyber Controller in Attack of the Cybermen.
Ah.
So already has a little bit of history with Doctor Who.
Yeah. I thought
Holy shit, I gotta pause real quick. He also plays the blacksmith in Dark Souls 2. That's insane.
wow. I thought the robot was kind of cool. The design of it, especially the head, very unique. From the waist down, I think it kind of falls apart where like the close-up shots look really cool, but when you pan back, it's very obviously just a guy in a suit just kind of shuffling around. But that like upper body and head is really great. And having it being like this more human character with a moral dilemma, twisted to do evil. Way more interesting than some of the other random robots we've had on the show. Aside from like the Cybermen.
Yeah, it has that boss element of like I love that they gave him like emotions and a very emotive robot. But I totally agree with you, Ben, that I think the design is stellar. It is amazing, especially like you said, like the head and the torso element is great. The design kind of falls apart somewhat, like you said, in the feet department and even the arms department with the claw arms doesn't look the greatest.
Yeah.
I have a lot of nostalgia for the K1 robot though, because it was the builder figure for the first series of the classic Doctor Who action figure range. So you got to like each figure would like come with a part of the robot. I never got all the parts for the robot, so I had like a half. I had the top half of the K1 robot with like one arm and one leg.
Do you know, Cam, is the K1 robot related to the K9 robot?
No. Anyway,
Just coincidence.
yes, it was a coincidence.
That's a missed opportunity, in my opinion. There should have been a K2 through 8, and the K9 is the latest and greatest model.
I think that Michael gives a great job at the voice performance of it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Really makes you feel it. I love the whole idea of the prime director being like he has to help humanity and then they have to fuck with that and
Yeah.
like all that stuff is really great.
It's like the whole laws of robotics thing.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Damn, we've only been recording for 33 minutes. I feels like we've been talking for longer.
I know, I'm shocked.
I thought we would have way more to say, but I feel like we're running low.
I
I mean,
know.
we can gush about Tom Baker some more, but like,
We definitely can. But so now the next thing we have to talk about. Do we know anything about because I remember they had like a name of like the fascist group. Do you remember what that name is?
oh, the Scientific Reform Society.
But I thought there was another name that they went by. Or was that just the only name they went
Oh,
by?
there's the that's like the fascist group that wants to destroy the world, they also refer to the legitimate scientific organization that a majority of the members are a part of. I think it's an informal name of think tank.
Yes, yes, yes. But what did you think of the Advanced Scientific Research Committee, Ben? And the group of fascists, Ben?
Uh, they were some fascists, all right. Guess there's the twist of Kettlewell actually being in on it the whole time.
It's a cool twist.
I guess, yeah.
It's a twist that like you're kind of not expecting it. It is a twist.
Oh yeah, Kettlewell is like this kind of funny character. You don't really expect it. Got some crazy hair going on, like straight up with a bald spot right down the middle.
It looks like a video game's like version of like a scientist or like an anime's version of a scientist.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like it's like Dr. Wily
Hmm.
from Mega Man. It's just like
Or like Cortex from Crash Bandicoot or something. Just like really almost cartoony.
it's a fun character. Definitely could have been a lot worse, but is not like the most memorable character in a Doctor Who story. It's kind of like that same the Advanced Scientific Research Group and the Professor kind of running that same thing of just like we've seen this before.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's the most memorable thing to discuss and to think about. I do think though that the main woman,
Miss Winters.
Miss Winters, gives a great performance as like the evil, bad fascist lady, and really hems it up when she does like the Hitler speech. And like I think it's part. It's either yeah, I think it's part 3 that she does like the Hitler speech where she's like her hair's like really like going all over the place and she's really screaming for it and like it's really great.
I thought the way they did the countdown was really good as well. Where like the beeping gets like louder and louder and they like quick zoom on it. Really stress inducing.
Yes. What else is there to talk about? What did you think of? You mentioned it a little bit earlier, but we can get more into it. What did you think of the how this doctor relationship is with Unit this episode? It's slightly different from the way that Pertwee would interact with them.
Yeah.
Because it's like I kind of thought about this whole episode of just like how would this story be like if it was just John Pertwee just saying these lines instead of Tom. It's weird because I don't think some of them like there's something like the line that he says to the Brigadier of just like he says like, oh yes, I don't like the word impregnable. That's kind of like the saying it's unsinkable. And then like I think Benton or Brigadier was like, what's wrong with that? It's like, oh,
Harry.
nothing's wrong unless you're the Titanic hitting that iceberg.
Uh yeah, nothing as the iceberg said to the Titanic.
Then it does like glump, 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 glump when it goes down, and it's like,
Um,
well, I guess like Percy would say that line, but Tom adds the little glump, 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 it goes down,
oh
and
yeah.
it's just like elevates it for me, and it's just like I think that's a lot of the story with even like the interactions with Brigadier and Benton. It's like you mentioned earlier the line that he says to Benton. It's like, "Good job, Benton," and like he does it with all of his heart. It's like, "Good job, Benton." And maybe Percy would have just been like a good job, Benton. But like the way Tom says it here is really passionately like, "Good for you."
Yeah, he says, "Wonderful, Mr. Benton, wonderful."
which maybe Percy would just say wonderful, wonderful Benton, but the way that Tom has to add that extra wonderful that really makes you feel the emotion of it.
Oh yeah.
Because I tried to find like the script of it. So I wanted to see how much Tom adds to the script, but I couldn't find the script
Uh,
of it.
I have a transcript, but that's not what you're
Yeah,
looking
that
for.
was the only thing I could find. Sadly, I wanted like the actual script to be able to see what's the difference from Terrence lines to the actual Tom's performance.
What do you know? Did he improv? Was he known for improving little things like that, or did he stick to the script
I don't remember.
in general, if not specifically for this?
I don't remember exactly how he said it. He would like basically tell people that like no, that's not the character, and he would do little rewrites. There's a really famous one in Planet of Evil we'll get to. That's like the one of the most iconic moments of all of Doctor Who that he himself is responsible for. So there is precedent of him rewriting and him completely giving his own lines. I also know how much he would. I think it would honestly we would get when it gets a lot in terms of his era because there's a couple of directors that he doesn't get along with too. And I feel like there's other scripts there that he like if he respects the script, he'll say it word by word, but maybe there's another script that if he doesn't like the script, then he'll have fun with it.
Yeah.
He'll try to make it better.
I guess it comes down to like the fourth Doctor in so many aspects is just Tom Baker. Like I think he said like he didn't really act. He was just kind of being himself.
Yeah, that's not acting. That's just Tom, and it's just that's a 100%. If you ever watch like an interview with Tom Baker, it is literally,
Oh yeah, he just that's just him.
which is insane, but it's true. He's just like that guy that was just who the hell is this guy?
Thinking his famous I can't think of the exact quote, but you know what I mean, right?
Which one? There's so many. Ben.
The like he makes old women's titties tingle.
Tom Baker. I make a woman's titties tingle. It's like
Uh
there's so many great lines of for Tom. I'm gonna have to send. I was waiting to send them to you till we get to Tom, but I'll send them your way because there's a lot of great stuff. Tom Baker, especially, like he loves alcohol, so like drunk Tom Baker is just a whole nother level of
Ooh.
just like insanity.
Yeah. I gotta warm up to him a little bit more, but I think I'm gonna really like him.
He has that like Pat quality to him of a little bit more of like a cosmic element to the Doctor
Yes.
that someone like a Pertwee or a Hartnell doesn't really have. He is more, I'm crazy.
Erratic.
Yeah, like Sarah says in the episode, a little bit childish. But yeah, do you have any notes, Ben, that you took down this episode that we haven't got to yet?
I think I have one or two more quotes I really like. Oh, I thought it was funny anytime he was like typing stuff, like when he's stopping the countdown at the end and when he's typing up a note for Sarah, he like does it like at supersonic speeds and the music like swells. That was funny. But the note he types up, I really like. He says something as Sarah's reading now. P.S. It is of course possible that this message is a trap. If it is, I can deal with it. PPS, I'm leaving this note in case I can't. I thought that was funny. And showing that like he's not infallible and he trusts Sarah to help him. Both of those. And then the next episode, Kettlewell? You let Sarah go off somewhere with Kettlewell?
Which even something like that, it's like I couldn't picture Pertwee saying that.
Yeah.
Like it's weird. I want to know how much of it like
Was this written for Pertwee?
no, 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 no. He was gone by this point. So like I want to know like where did this character come from? Did just Terrence and Barry just talk and say, I want more of this erratic doctor? Or
Hmm.
did they just see Tom Baker and say, okay, well, this guy's gonna be goofy. We gotta write him a little bit goofier.
Yeah. Oh, and towards the end, it was a wonderful creature, referring to the robot, capable of great good and great evil. Yes, I think you could say it was human.
But that's of course a line that I could imagine Pertwee saying
Yes,
also.
yes. Lot of great quotes. I'm gonna miss Unit. I know there's a couple more, I think next season, and one or two more after that as kind of nostalgia stuff. But this is kind of it, right?
Yeah, there's just
I know Terror of the Zygons.
Terror of the Zygons, that's the last like big one. And then there could be some in another episode. No, don't want to get into too much spoiler category if you haven't already read TARDIS Wiki and been a bad boy.
I I might have.
And then what else? And then it's all the way to like season 20, I think. Yeah, no.
There's like a Fifth Doctor episode.
Yeah, there's a Fifth Doctor episode that Brigadier returns, and then the Brigadier and Mikey Yates returns in the Five Doctors, and then it takes all the way to Battlefield for the unit and Brigadier to come back.
What are they gonna do without their scientific advisor? Bessie's just gonna rust away.
They had that period between Invasion and Spearhead from space. Like they must have been doing some good without the Doctor, but now they got so comfortable that they had the Doctor there. So it's like
I know.
it's going to be hard. It's going to be a hard couple of months. There's going to be a lot of more unit soldiers' deaths.
Yeah.
Which we got a pretty good one this episode with the one unit soldier that gets zapped away.
Disintegrated.
Like poor him. It's just like they have to tell his family. I was like, sorry, he got like we got nothing. He's gone. He's got zapped. And there's something to it also that there's no like line of dialogue. Like nowadays there'd be like a line of dialogue. They'd be like, oh no, Jason died. It's like they don't even do anything. It's just like, oh god, that guy's just dead.
Do they say anything, or is it just like,
No, that guy just dies and they just move on. Which is so funny. They just skip over the guy's death.
oh yeah, I'm looking at the transcript now. They just don't acknowledge it at all. Poor dude. And later, the doctor just says, "Do what you can. Just go at it. Buy me some time." And the b- brigadier's like, we have no chance, right?
He has that one great line that says, once I'd like to meet an alien menace that wasn't immune to bullets, which is a great Brigadier line.
Yeah.
No, it is sad. It's that point of like even the Planet of the Spiders is the last Third Doctor serial. In a way, this is.
Little bit of an epilogue.
This is like, oh yeah, this is gonna be the last time that we're gonna see an invasion story with the Brigadier and Benton and Bessie.
It's time to leave Earth, explore the cosmos once again.
Which I think is like this is the perfect time for it. The show, even though it was very successful at this point, you can kind of feel that that format was getting old and it needed something new again. Which exploring more of the TARDIS definitely would help. We had enough of like that separation from the Troughton stuff that we can have fun adventures in the TARDIS again.
Yeah.
That we don't need to be always earthbound.
We had some space adventures, but we always came back.
Yeah, it's always that element of we always have to come back to the Brigadier.
Now he's off for a series of unconnected adventures.
Well, no, the season 12 is all connected.
Ah,
It is. You'll find out, Ben. There is a connection in there.
okay. And we got this season a couple returning monsters, but a lot of Tom Baker is just totally new stuff, right?
Yeah, this is a weird one because it was season 12 was commissioned by Terrence Dicks and Barry Letts. So like those scripts were already in place before Robert Holmes and Philip Hinchcliffe got in there. Of course, they make them their own, but it's like all right, they already knew that they would have to work with for Ark in Space. It has to be like the spaceship for the Genesis of the Daleks. It's like, all right, we know we have to do the Genesis of the Daleks, and then we have to do a Cyberman story.
Yeah, you already got a Centauran, a Dalek, and a Cyberman story.
And I forgot, yes, we have to do a Silent Tarn story. So it's like we already have these stories commissioned, so we have to do them. And of course, they make two very much considered to be two of the best Doctor Who stories ever in that run.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing the Cybermen again after all this time.
I have never seen Revenge of the Cybermen, so I'm excited too. That's the only one this season that I haven't seen. I always wanted to watch it as a kid, but the DVD was always too expensive as a kid, so I never got it. When I got access to streaming, I found out that it was a bad story.
Yeah.
So then I just like my interest got less and less and less, and then I got it on Blu-ray, so I had really no excuses then, and I still didn't watch it.
I hope it's not terrible. I like the majority of Cybermen stories, Troughton era.
It's supposed to be bad.
So the cliffhangers for this episode are the first one is the robot surprises and then approaches Sarah menacingly, who the robot attacks the helpless doctor. The third one is the robot destroys a little baby tank and then threatens Unit.
Go now, and I will destroy you all.
A lot of the CSO this episode didn't look bad. The tank though, that was just a toy.
No, the tank was bad. But lovingly bad. I loved it. I giggled. I
Mhm.
was having a blast when that tank showed up.
I don't know. Maybe the second one. None of them are awesome.
Yeah, none of them are that great, the serial. Yeah, I would probably go with part 3 just for the tank.
Fair.
The highlight of the tank.
Alrighty. What would you give this episode, Cam?
8.1.
8.1. Gotta set a new ground floor the effects of which will ripple throughout the next like year because we're gonna be doing Tom Baker for a while. Everything else is gonna be relative to Robot.
I think it's an 8.1 story. 'Cause I respect you, Ben, if you say 7.5. I think like somebody could think this is 7.5, but I think it's carried a lot by Tom Baker and Elizabeth Sladen. Also, it's a four-potter. This is a six-potter would have been fucking awful.
Oh yeah, I'm so happy we're gonna be blessed with I guess like 80 tech, just about 80% four parters.
Just three more six-potters to go, and three of the best
There's more
stories
than
of all across
three.
the Doctor Who. Get ready, Ben.
There's
This three.
Genesis of the Daleks. Are you sure?
Seeds of Death. Seeds of Doom, I should say. I always get them fucking confused. No, it's the Seeds of Doom. Yep, Seeds of Doom. Oh, Invasion of Time's a six-potter?
Yeah. And the Talons of Wing Chain. Yeah.
And the Armageddon Factor?
And Shada. There's one to
Damn.
cap off.
Well, Shadow doesn't count.
Mostly counts.
Wasn't produced serial,
It
man.
was later though. There's one to, and we're gonna talk
Yeah.
about it. There's one to cap off
Oh yeah.
every season except for 18. So there's 5.
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know that the I never seen the Armageddon Factor or the Invasion of Time, so I didn't know this. Ugh, that sucks. I don't think the Armageddon Factor is supposed to be that great. I know Invasion of Time is not supposed to be good either, so those weeks are gonna be awful.
We can deal with one six-parter a season, Cam. We're big boys. We've dealt with,
Oh yeah, no.
I'm sure, way worse stories that were six-parters.
Well, that's gonna be the thing. Is Armageddon Factor gonna be as bad as the curse of not the curse, the monster of Peladon?
Or Death of the Daleks.
Death of the Daleks is a four-parter, which just shows you how bad Death of the Daleks is.
Yeah. No, I think I'm with you. I think it's 8.1. I almost want to do like 7.9. I don't think it's a 7.5.
But I can understand why somebody would rate it that low. That they were just like, oh yeah, this is just an average. This is a 7 that gets bumped up to a 7.5 because of
You
Tom.
know, I'm gonna go 8.
That makes sense.
Just a round 8. It is good.
Yeah.
Very good even.
It's good.
It's definitely a 7 out of 10 Pertwee story that Tom Baker being there makes it an 8 out of 10.
Oh yeah. Finally, we get to look at the fourth Doctor polls and its long list.
Yeah, there's like almost twice the number of Fourth Doctor stories, I think, right?
There's 41.
Well, 42 is Shada
My God.
compared to Pertwee's 24. So add in like Doctor Who and the Pescatons, Exploration Earth, do a couple books, a couple Fourth Doctor adventures, some recap and retrospective stuff. We're going to be doing Tom Baker for about a year, I bet.
Yeah. And in some ways, even though I'm not looking forward to the 80s as a whole, it's gonna be kind of refreshing to go to the 80s to be like, oh, it's something different. Something new.
I'm not looking forward to the Fifth Doctor.
I kinda am. I think he's kind of bland.
I mean, there's
With some highlights.
3 and 4 Doctors are gonna be the longest by far. Like, we're gonna breeze through
Yeah.
the Sixth Doctor in, like, 2 months. Maybe 3 with, like,
Yeah.
if we listen to some Big Finish.
If it was up to you, it'd be a month. So we had to travel the time more than 1 week.
No.
No, we're not doing that, Ben. Trial is not one story.
If it's good enough for Doctor Who magazine, it's good enough for me.
But they do the same thing for Flux. And that's so frustrating. Flux, nobody's like, oh yeah, Flux is one episode. Like, no, Flux is fucking it's 6 episodes. It's a six-potter.
They combine, like, the part 1s and part 2s that are different named, right? Like,
Yeah.
I can't think of the name. Like the World War III Aliens of London.
Aliens of London. But the big one is Utopia. Utopia, it's like, is that considered a three-potter? I don't know.
Yeah.
We're gonna have that conversation in like 3 years, Ben.
Alrighty. Cam, where does Robot rank?
See, I've seen about probably like half of these. So it's hard for me to say. Like, I think that Robot is better than like the Leisure Hive and Destiny of the Daleks and the Sontaran Experiment.
Let's see. It is ranked 23, so just below the halfway point. It's gone up over the years. 2014 it was also 23, 2009 it was 25, and 98 it was 27. So people like it more and more, but it's still just below the midway point. Which if an 8 is the midway point, that's pretty good.
That is pretty good. But, like, I can't tell you. Like, I'm looking at the list now, it's like, alright, is like, it's been years since I've seen, like on number 13 is the Stones of Blood. It's been years since I've seen that. I saw the Stones of Blood when I was a kid. It's like, is Stones of Blood really a 13? I don't know about that.
I guess we're gonna find out. By the end of this, we will have both personal and Hui definitive rankings, factual rankings of every story.
And then next week is gonna be starting the golden era of the show that basically almost every classic era fan will say is the golden age of the show, which is the Hinchcliffe era. A reign that lasts from now season 12 through all the way to the end of 14 with his script editor, Robert Holmes. Robert Holmes, of course, wrote many of the best stories of Pertwee and is the writer of many of the greatest stories of that era, including the one that we're going to be talking about next week, which is the Occam Space, of course.
I'm looking forward to another brisk four-parter. So join us next week. Be sure to give us a like, subscribe, comment, share, follow, repost.
Watch our shorts. We do a short with every podcast. You might have fun watching them.
Just a little 40 to 50-second clip. Best hit. So join us for Arkham Space. Have a wonderful day.
Peace.